The chest-supported T-bar row from Temple of Gainz might be one of the best chest-supported rowing machines that I've ever used, and I still wouldn't recommend it for most home gym owners. I've had this baby for months now, so we've really come to know one another. Today I'm going to share my experience with this piece, who I think this machine is actually for, and who should probably spend their money elsewhere. Let's get to it. Hey guys, Chris here with Strength and Steel Reviews. I'm a father, a personal trainer, and yeah, a home gym equipment reviewer. I am no engineer, just a busy dad who loves training and appreciates the kind of equipment that makes it more enjoyable and certainly more convenient. Before we get started, I want to make one thing very clear. Temple of Gainz did not send this machine for free. I wasn't sponsored for this review. I wasn't compensated in any way. I bought this machine with my own money, probably because I have a deep, if not somewhat unhealthy appreciation for T-bar rows. So everything you're about to hear is my own honest opinion. The good, the bad, and of course, some of the things that I wish were a little bit different. Now, if after watching this review, you decide that this machine belongs in your gym and you'd like to support the channel while helping me recover from some of the questionable financial decisions I've made in pursuit of a bigger back, feel free to use the affiliate link below to buy it. Okay, let's get started. So I'm a big fan of Temple of Gainz. Yoni, the owner, is a genuinely great dude who loves his company and he's clearly enthusiastic about his equipment. Also, he actually trains. That's right, he uses his equipment. What a wild idea, right? You own a home gym equipment company and you actually use home gym equipment. Crazy. That simple idea, along with of course the obvious innovation that he implements into all of his designs, are some of the reasons why I'm always keeping an eye on what Temple of Gainz is working on. So when I saw the updated version of their chest-supported T-bar row, I did what any financially responsible home gym owner would do. I pretended that I didn't want it for a few weeks, tried to convince myself I didn't need it, and then completely folded and bought one anyway. So predictably, when it arrived, I was stoked. And then I started reading the online assembly instructions, and that excitement sank like a ruined ship to the bottom of the deepest ocean. The first disappointment was that everything was digital. Unless I somehow missed them, there were no printed instructions available. The second disappointment was discovering there were 33 pages of instructions to scroll through online. And the third, and perhaps most devastating, the instructions on many of these pages were written in paragraphs. And yes, there were diagrams and pictures, but overall it was still an unnecessarily tedious process. I found myself constantly scrolling back and forth between the components list, the hardware diagram, and whatever step of the instructions I happened to be on at the time. By the end of it, I felt like I was spending almost as much time navigating the instructions as I was actually assembling the machine. Overall, it was a rough assembly and I didn't like that. If you know me, you know I don't like assembling equipment. But you only have to assemble something like this once. So when I did finally have it constructed, I was definitely impressed by the build quality. I mean, look at it. Look at all this glorious B-roll. This is a beautiful piece of equipment. Everything feels substantial, overbuilt, and incredibly solid. There's no wobble, the steel feels high quality, and the entire machine has that commercial grade feel that immediately inspires confidence. At no point have I looked at this machine and wondered whether it would hold up over time. The downside, of course, it is an absolute tank. At roughly 275 pounds, once you decide where this machine is going, that's pretty much where it's going to be staying. This is not one of those pieces that you casually roll into a corner after you work out or you rearrange every few months when you get another bright idea about your gym layout. Speaking of, here are the measurements on screen for you. It isn't overly wide, but it is certainly long and surprisingly tall for a T-bar row. Again, this is a big piece, and more specifically, a big T-bar row. There are certainly smaller options on the market, but it would be hard to imagine any of them being as well built. So yeah, this kind of piece is going to require commitment. And speaking of commitment, let's remember what this machine is actually for. It's a T-bar row, that's it. Now, a T-bar row happens to be one of my favorite exercises, but for most home gym owners, space is limited. Every piece of equipment needs to earn its place. This machine isn't trying to be a functional trainer or some kind of all-in-one solution. It performs one thing, not multiple things, but it does that one thing really well. In fact, that's part of what I like about it so much. Essentially, there's no gimmick here. It's exactly what it claims to be. You should make sure that you're the type of lifter who seriously values chest-supported rows enough to dedicate so much space and money and floor space to a machine built around a single exercise, but if you are, I do think it's worth your consideration because it feels excellent. That's some of the really good news. This machine feels fantastic in use. The articulating handles are probably my favorite feature because they allow your wrists, your elbows, and your shoulders to move naturally through the rowing movement. Nothing feels forced, nothing feels awkward or locked into a path that doesn't fit your body. If you have any issues with your shoulders, this is definitely the kind of setup that you want if you're committed to buying a T-bar row. And the rowing motion is incredibly smooth. It's easy to find a groove that feels comfortable, and the machine does an excellent job of letting you focus on your back instead of your joints. My only real gripe is these rubber grips. This is purely personal preference, but generally I prefer a more knurled grip, the feeling of steel if possible when doing a T-bar row. Any kind of knurling would be nice. The rubber grips are not bad by any means. They're just not my favorite part of an otherwise excellent machine. Something else that I really appreciate about this machine is how adjustable it is, specifically the adjustable handle width and the foot platform. The adjustable platform isn't something you see all that often, especially in commercial gyms. I've never encountered it in a commercial gym, and it makes it much easier to dial in a position that feels really right for your body, to position that pad right where you want it on your chest in accordance to your particular height. And as for the handles, bringing them in closer allows you to drive your elbows down and really emphasize your lats, while bringing them out wider lets you flare out those elbows and place more emphasis on your upper back and of course your rhomboids and your traps. That versatility is a big part of what makes this machine so enjoyable to use. I love that you can manually maneuver the handles wider or narrower. That's a huge addition. Adjustability is king. If I did have a complaint here, I would say I wished that the handles went a bit wider out, maybe even a bit narrower too. I know I should just be grateful that I can do that at all, that I can adjust it in any way. But I'm spoiled here, and if I could go wider, I would like that. But overall, the machine feels fantastic, and it looks fantastic, and it looks expensive, and that's because it is. And I guess I should probably tackle the price. Yeah, listen, she ain't cheap, but does she look cheap to you? No, she definitely does not, and I doubt you were expecting it to be. At the time of this review, this machine comes in at roughly $1,600 and honestly, when you see the amount of steel, the build quality, and the overall construction, the price starts to make a little more sense. And I'm saying it makes sense. I'm not saying it's inexpensive, because of course it is not. But it also doesn't feel like a $500 machine being sold for $1,600. The most obvious comparison here would be the Titan Fitness chest-supported T-bar row, but I can't really comment on how they stack up because I've never really used the Titan version myself. In fact, if you have used the Titan Fitness T-bar row, please comment below, tell me your thoughts. But what I can say here, just to reiterate, is that it's a $1,600 piece that is definitely built like a $1,600 piece. Does one thing, but man, it's premium quality, there is no doubt. So who is this machine actually for? Honestly, I think it's for someone like me, someone who genuinely loves rowing movements, prioritizes back training, appreciates simple, specialized equipment, and already has the essentials covered. If you're the type of lifter who gets excited about a really good T-bar row and you've been waiting for a well-built T-bar row that you could invest in and you have plenty of space, there's a good chance you're gonna love this machine. On the other hand, if you're still building out your gym and you're trying to get the most versatility possible from every square foot of space, there are most certainly better ways to spend your money, because this could take the space of a multifunctional piece that could perform 4 to 8 to 12 different movements. I mean, that's the industry nowadays. They're cramming a lot of function into a very compact piece of equipment depending on where you buy from. But listen, at the end of the day, I think this is a beautiful piece of equipment. It's built like a tank. The movement feels fantastic. The articulating hands are excellent. The adjustable platform is a genuinely useful feature, and the adjustable handle width gives you the ability to emphasize either your lats or your upper back depending on how you choose to set it up. And most importantly, it delivers one of the best chest-supported rowing experiences I've ever had on one of these machines. That said, it is still a giant machine dedicated to one exercise. A really, really good exercise and a really, really good machine, but one exercise on one machine nonetheless. So unless you're like me and you have a somewhat irrational affection for T-bar rows, this probably is not the first piece of equipment I'd recommend for your home gym, or the second or probably the third. However, if your gym is already well equipped, you have the space available, and you've been looking for a premium chest supported T-bar row, I think Temple of Gainz has nailed it. This is a great piece and certainly worthy of your consideration. If you have any other T-bar rows to recommend, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, that's it for the review, guys. Subscribe for more home gym equipment reviews exactly like this. Like the video, comment to support the almighty YouTube algorithm, and you know the deal. You stay strong and you stay steely, and I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.